Some news that came just before we began today's live show. Report from the Dallas Morning News. Trevon Diggs is expected to open up training camp on the PUP, the physically unable to perform list for the Dallas Cowboys. Not unexpected. I think there was still harboring of some hope that maybe Diggs wouldn't have to begin on the PUP list. Hopefully this is the only player who's going to miss a little bit of camp to start. Background here, if you're on the PUP list, it means you're not going to practice, but leaves are open for an IR to return soon if you need it. Doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. Sounds like Diggs will spend a week, maybe two. Maybe he doesn't practice at all in Oxnard, does back in Frisco. But he's going to miss the start of training camp as he continues to recover from that ACL. Doesn't sound like any setbacks, just needs a little bit more time to get fully ramped up as we will continue to wait for Diggs' return. Probably means more chance for guys like Kalen Carson, Sean Wright, Eric Scott, a chance to work with the ones and showcase what they're able to do. Now, we're about to talk CeeDee Lamb on today's show. So do you want the Cowboys to pay the superstar wide receiver? I think every single person watching should. So spam me in the comments section right now. We are 24-ish hours away from the Cowboys showing up, and 48's like the reporting deadline. That's all estimated based on when you're watching there. There is still no deal with CeeDee Lamb, who is primed to hold out of Cowboys training camp without one. And I am very frustrated to be at this point because there's no reason for it. The Cowboys should have already gotten this deal done. This contract, frankly, shouldn't have been very hard. It should have been hard last year to get done. It's certainly not hard to get done right now. I get it's expensive, but this is what you get when you drag your feet and don't pay players who want top-of-the-market money early. You allow Jalen Waddle, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, and more to get paid first. It allows the market to be reset multiple times in multiple ways. The 3 highest paid wide receivers per year and the 3 highest paid guaranteed. All got paid this offseason. The agent wanted to wait some, sure, okay, well, guess what? Those A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb are the same agent. So don't sit there and tell me, agent's got to play ball. He did with one of his guys. Why not both? Like, what are you doing out there? If it's true that Lamb is just looking for a minimum $32 million per year, which is a very fair minimum for him to beat out A.J. Brown, do this contract. 4 years, $132, $101 guaranteed, $33 million per year. You got to bump it to 34? Fine. Who cares? Get it done. I do not want things to take a Brandon Ayuk turn. I don't want things to get messier than it already is. I don't want to be here next Monday, first story, Lamb's still holding out. I don't want to have a potential, hey, Lamb didn't get a deal done. He's now requested a trade breaking news video. I do still think a deal gets done. I think the Cowboys and Lamb, most of the Cowboys go, okay, what are we doing? This is dumb. Let's pay our superstar wide receiver. Let's not have him miss time with QB1 at training camp. Let's get that deal done. I just don't know when that deal ends up getting done. So will a CeeDee Lamb deal get done before training camp? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comment section, the pinned comment of today's show. Now, the rest of today's show will focus on the Stephen Jones comments made with the Athletic and their Scoop City podcast, Diana Rossini, Chase Daniel. A lot of things are said about the contract situation. The overall gist, like the one quote that kind of sums it up was probably this one. These things just take time when you're talking about the amount of money involved. And of course, trying to play a little bit of Houdini, how to keep all these players around Dak, keep these players you were fortunate enough to draft. It's Steven speak, right? You got coach speak, that's Steven speak. Much of this was the usual refrain, the same old song and dance of, you want to pay him. It's a little complicated. Okay, get it done. I've got 3 things that I think were a little bit different and noteworthy about what Steven said we'll get to here. But first, today's show is made possible by our good friends over at Game Time. They got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat with their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. That's NFL tickets, the Cowboys, or MLB tickets as the season begins to wind down. I am always a big fan of their zone deals, plus they've got flash deals and more. The zone deals, you pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for savings along the way. I like that you can take your phone and kind of use it as a live photo and turn it around and get a great view from your seat. And remember, the lowest price guarantee means Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference of your ticket. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply, but create your account and redeem code CHATSPORTS, ChatSports, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today for last-minute tickets, the lowest price, all guaranteed, with the link and the promo code in the comments section and the description of today's show. A couple noteworthy takeaways I want to get to here. Number one was Steven saying he and Jerry have spoken with Dak personally. Not just had talks with his agent, but talks with the quarterback personally. Here's what Steven said on Dak. Our goal is to get him done. He knows that. We're having conversations with his agent, with Dak personally, both Jerry and myself. He knows our goal is to keep him here. He also understands the challenges, and you see what happens to him as they have to do these top-price quarterbacks at some point. It's a challenge to keep everybody. In the past, the reason why Dak hires Todd France is to let Todd France do the contract stuff. You hire the expert to do his expert job and get you the most money. How players and agents operate, right? Now, the Joneses at their core, specifically Jerry, they're salesmen. The art of the deal has been mastered by Jerry, right? They're very good at what they do when their goal is right, let's put it that way, right? So if Steven is being honest, that's noteworthy. I think it might increase the chances of the deal because Jerry and Steven can put the sell on Dak. They did it with Tank Lawrence to an extent. That's kind of why things finally got sorted out there. That's why Des Bryant refused to talk to Jerry. Remember that story of Des was like, yeah, Jerry kind of got me cornered a little bit. And Jerry said, Des, I'm not talking to you, Jerry, because I'll lose this deal. And maybe that does help the chances a little bit. I think it's still a little bit because it's all still a little bit passive, it sounds like. So will a Dak Prescott deal get done before the season? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Sound off for me in the comments section of today's show. One of the issues here is the matter of leverage. And if we're being honest, Cowboys don't have any leverage. They don't have any things they can do to say, well, Dak, we can do this if you don't sign. There's no franchise tag. There's a no trade clause. And even if Trey Lance is great, Dak goes, well, someone else will pay me. It kind of comes down to, Dak, do you still want to be a Cowboy and do you want to do us a favor? And the quarterback might say no. And then it's kind of, well, are you going to cave or no? And that's not a fun negotiating spot to be. And it all comes back to the first time they had to pay Dak. They didn't handle it properly, and they're kind of making the exact same mistakes the first time. Number two, I'm almost going from positive to least positive, by the way, is that Stephen Jones called the Jefferson deal inordinate. He was talking about how the Vikings paid Jefferson an inordinate contract. And the full quote we'll get to because it's part of the number 3 takeaway and I'm going to rant about it. But that sounds alarm bells for me. Inordinate means excessive. It means that they overpaid Justin Jefferson. That they thought that was more than what he should have and was going to get. Which, by the way, I don't know if it really was relative to the markets and everything. So that actually concerns me. Because 35 is way too much. Not just a lot, but it's way too much. What are you offering CeeDee Lamb? I'm worried about that quote. Because there was that report from my guy Pretty Ricky that Lamb was going to demand a trade if he didn't get at least $32 million offer. Well, if you think 35 is inordinate, maybe you're not trying to offer $32 million. So I am worried about that quote. That sounds off alarms in my head going, don't like that. Because this is a team that historically doesn't do a great job with the market. They consistently don't pay the top end to begin with, then they eventually cave. And they've made comments, they don't think they have to pay the market rate because they're the Cowboys. You're not special anymore, Steven. You ain't won shit in almost 30 years. You don't get the star boost like you used to. Not the same way anymore. So we'll see what happens. We will have Cowboys coverage for you right here on the channel. We are inching closer to beating our July subscriber number. Hit that sub button to help us get there, youtube.com/CowboysTV. My third takeaway is this. It is the return of what I have dubbed the pie lie, where Stephen Jones uses the salary cap to try to manipulate the contracts improperly and doesn't quite lay out the real cash spending that they don't spend. Here's what he said. I know the Vikings there with Jefferson when they made that inordinate deal at the receiver spot. They don't have one player on their team other than Jefferson making over $20 million. Of course, we have a big one in Dak, and we got Diggs right there, and you got Zach Martin and D-Law. So we got a lot of guys making quite a bit of money. It's no excuse. I think we can get this done. No, we can get it done, but it just takes time. Now, when I saw that quote, I was mad. I did not like that quote. It bothered me because it's just, at best, it's ignorant of what the salary situation actually looks like. And at worst, it's lying. And maybe in the middle ground, it's deceptive and disingenuous. Because Stephen did not accidentally pick 20 as a hypothetical number. He picked it to maximize the number, so to speak. Because guess what Jonathan Grenard makes per year? $19 million. So I set my min number to cut off everybody else I possibly could. By the way, Brian O'Neill makes 18.5. Hawkinson makes 16.5. You know what looks really freaking similar? Is what the Cowboys are paying players right now. Yes, Dak's at 40. We'll come back to that. Diggs does not make 20. Zach Martin does not make 20. Terrence Steele, Tank Lawrence, they do not make $20 million. So to act like you are paying more money than other teams is not true. You're not. There's really not a big difference between what the Vikings were doing, the Cowboys are doing. And oh, by the way, unlike Minnesota, one of those players is under contract next year and or cannot be cut. And that's Diggs. You're not going to cut Diggs. Steele can be cut. Tank, Martin, Dak, all free agents. So yes, other teams can only spend so much money, whatever. There is a salary cap. But if you're complaining about having to pay players when you're not paying anybody long term, that's a you problem. I'm not saying there aren't challenges. I'm not saying you got to do a lot of complicated cap gymnastics to make it all work. But other teams are doing this. Other teams are spending money on the open market. They're spending more cash than you are. And that is not what is going on in Dallas. Look what the Philadelphia Eagles are doing. They're paying Jalen Hurts more money than you're paying Dak Prescott. They're paying A.J. Brown $32 million, Vonta Smith $25, Jordan Mailata's at $22, Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson are all over $20 million. More. You're complaining about, oh, I can't pay Lamb. The Eagles are doing that and more. And more. Steven said you only pay 5 to 6 guys if you're paying a top quarterback. You got to lose Biotish. No one cares. He wasn't that good anyway. 12 different players on the Eagles are making at least $10 million per year. That's 12 players. You're at 6. And the Eagles, by the way, huge dead cap numbers too. Other teams are spending more money than you are to maximize the same window you're trying to maximize. That is not a salary cap problem. That is a you problem. That is how you're spending your cash. You are putting yourself at a competitive disadvantage if you do not spend the same amount of cash as other teams do. Not every team spends pretty similar cap dollars. Not every team spends similar cash numbers. And when you're $100 million back over the 3 to 4 to 5 years against the Eagles, it's a lot of money. It's a big difference. And it makes it challenging to maximize your window when the goal is a Super Bowl. The goal is not to win 10 games every year. The goal is to win a championship. Cowboys do a great job of winning 10 games every year. I think you do too, you need more of that.